Good evening, everyone. My name is Luis Berispetia. I'm chair of the Historic Districts Commission in Concord. Welcome to the August 4th, 2022 meeting of the Town of Concord Historic Districts Commission. The commission will review 4 new applications this evening, and at the end, we'll conduct other businesses. We're conducting this meeting online in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. The public may access this call through both telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions following the petitioner's presentation and questions from the commission. To do so, please raise your hand in the participant function of the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you may raise your hand by dialing *9. Our host will mute microphones of those not speaking to preserve bandwidth and may need to turn off video, except for the commissioners, the host, and the current applicant. I will call on each commissioner for comments on an application and then open the meeting for public comment. Once there are no more public comments, I would ask for a motion from the commission to continue, to approve with conditions, or to reject. A second, and then conduct a roll call vote. Once the commission has acted on an application, the applicant is free to leave the meeting. We'll do now a roll call of the members of the commission. Dennis Fiore. Abigail Flanagan.
Present.
Catherine Mast. She's not here. Henry Moss.
Here.
Peter Nobili.
Here.
And Luis Berispetia, is present. So we'll go to the first public hearing, the first application, which is 170 Barrett Mill Road in the Barrett Farm District. And the applicant is Richard Warren for Hands-On Construction, representing the owner, George Stewart, to add a bath vent on the side of the house, a 4-inch square painted to match existing sliding color or existing vents. So it's Mr. Warren here. Is there a representative of 170 Barrett's Mill Road? Well, why don't we go to another application, to the next. You want to say anything, Peter?
No, I was just waving to Mark, sorry.
Sorry.
Oh,
Point of order, Luis.
Yeah.
In reviewing the application for 170 Barrett's Mill Road, I have questions as to whether it's actually under our purview. It doesn't seem to be visible from a public way. And I don't know if town staff has more insight on that. But I looked at the application, I looked at the Google Maps, I drove by the location, and I don't actually think this vent is visible from a public way.
I do agree with you, and that was one issue that I was going to bring up.
I had the same thought.
So I don't know if we should, wait until perhaps the applicant is here.
I mean, I'm comfortable making a determination that on my review that this is not visible from a public way outside of our purview, and that we could simply pass on the application, and that town staff could provide assurances to the building department that this is not visible from a public way and is not subject to our authority.
Well, I believe that that is a very reasonable position, and then I will ask the commission for a motion to approve administratively, or to declare that we have no purview on the adding of a bath vent on the side of the house.
So I think we did this, was it at the last meeting that we just simply made a determination that it was not visible from a public way, and therefore no vote needed to be taken? I think that's correct in terms of procedure.
All right, then.
I think you can hold that as chair, Luis.
Yeah, well, I want to have some consensus, and I want to have a record that all commissions are in agreement in this aspect. So I can conduct a roll call without a motion, just to have a record that this was an unanimous impression that we all decided to go ahead. So I will do that at this point. Henry.
I support the notion that it is no longer applicable and that it's not visible.
Abigail?
Yes, I agree that it is not visible from the public way and is outside of our purview.
Dennis?
I agree with my two prior commissioners.
Peter?
Ditto.
And I agree with all our prior commissioners. So we determined that we have no purview and that the applicant can proceed without any certificate of approval from the Historic Districts Commission. Well, thank you very much. So we'll proceed to the next application, which is 70 Monument Square, Middlesex County Officer and Jailer House from 1739, with an 1870 roof and a 1926 siding and other alterations. And I believe that we have Mark Gilms, which we welcome as a familiar face, to give us a summary of the proposed
But Luis,
signs and so forth.
yeah, the application is simply to put a new sign out in front of the parish center. If you looked at the photos that you have in the drawings, there is currently a sign similar to that announces Monument Hall in the back that will be coming down. And Billy Crosby has been kind enough to design and build or will build a sign to announce that the redoing of the rectory, which is now an office building for the parish, is there. I presume that you've all seen the designs and the photograph that shows where it's going to go. I think you're familiar with what Billy does. I think the design and construction of the sign has been articulated in the application. So, any questions?
Why don't we ask Anne to put on the screen the actual design, so that will put things in context.
I don't know how to do that, or I do it. So, but
No, I think that we can do it from our side. I think, well,
it's beyond my skill set.
now Anne is the one in trouble. Are you there, Anne, or did you leave?
If you're having any trouble, I've got it right here on my screen.
I have it in my screen as well.
Oh, you guys are younger than I am. Is that what this is? Or, so?
Well, yeah, sorry.
Yes, you
Rub
are.
it in. All right, I'm going to put it up. How about that? How's that?
That's it. Okay.
Good.
So you're familiar with the way Billy does his signs. Okay. You know, it's, and you know, Billy's on. If you want him to describe it, he can probably do a better job than I can. Billy, you want to jump in there? So,
Yeah, if you can hear me, I can't see my own picture, but can they hear me?
yeah, we can hear you. We can
great.
hear you.
Okay. Yeah, you want to ask a question, or it's basically just a single-sided flat back sign with a raised frame around the face of it, a cove where there's gold leaf around the inside of the trim, and then Catholic Parish Center are just raised, slightly pinned off, so it has a little bit of a shadow there, but just raised 3/4-inch letters. And then we were going to do carved letters for Holy Family Parish, and we were thinking we might want to just wait a year or two just in case anything might change, because then we'd have to redo the whole sign. So we were thinking about doing painted or vinyl letters just to, give it a couple of years to see if it's going to hold. These things kind of change a lot. It's like changing.
Yeah, the problem is, it's a collaborative now. It may end up several, and I don't know anything, it may end up as just one parish down the road. I mean, obviously you understand that the Catholic Archdiocese is shrinking. So, we don't know if it's going to stay this way forever. That's all. Make sense?
Yep.
Makes sense.
That's where it goes.
That's
So,
correct.
That's the position.
yeah. Okay, and why don't I ask the commissioners for comments, because I'm sure that they're going to have all the questions that I have. Henry, start with you.
I thought it looked quite good. When I looked at the 94 inches, what I haven't done is to compare that to the length of what is there currently. And in the photograph, it seems not inconsistent with in terms of scale with a landscape location.
It's about the same size, a little bit smaller. The sign would be to the right of that you really can't see, you know, is just more square in shape. It's not shaped the way this one is. Okay.
There is no sign there right now.
Well, there is Monument Hall.
Yeah, but it's way to the right.
It's tucked behind it. That's correct. Okay.
So I did not object to this. I often wonder if the supports for these signs should be not white, but something that blends a little more with the ground. Not a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I try to hide them, they stick out more if I try to do them in a strange color, but the post could easily go black. Or it could be, you know, we could try to make it a gray, but like I say, sometimes when I try to hide them, it looks worse, but
Yeah, it was more a question than a
right,
complaint.
yeah. I think we were just following the initial concepts from the architect.
Yeah, you can see the sign that's currently there. That sign's going away. Okay.
Right. You're all the way over by the girls walking.
Right.
There would be.
Okay. And yeah, I think if we tried to hide the supports with like a brown or something, you know, because first of all, that's grass now, so it's not brown. You know, I don't know whether you know, we could probably put a couple of small bushes in front of it, you know, some sort of plant if.
Yeah, I think I would assume it would get some flowers, but I mean, I don't think black, you know, satin black posts might be nice too, because the board is black.
Right, right.
You know?
Yeah, I wouldn't go overboard.
Yeah, we'll think about that. It's a good suggestion. So.
Thank you, Henry. Abigail.
So I have no objection to the materials or the design of the sign. I think it's quite attractive. I think it's in keeping with the side guidelines for the district. I think the raised letters, the cove detail with the gold. My preference would be for painted as opposed to vinyl letters, understanding why you don't want to carve at this point. That makes sense to me. I don't have any objection to the color of the posts. I do have concerns about the size of the sign. 7.5 feet at that distance from the sidewalk, I think will read quite large. Other wayfinding and signage, particularly for parishes in the center, thinking in terms of Tricon and First Parish, those signs aren't as long and large as this. I think given its position on the square and the proximity to the road and the sidewalk, I would prefer the sign to be scaled down. I think the proportions are nice. I think the design is nice, but I think the width of almost 7.5, a little more than 7.5 feet is too large for the location. And that's been an effort that we've been made in sign approvals over the past couple of years, particularly in the Main Street District, is to scale signage down. And so that would be my preference in terms of what I think is appropriate is this design, but in a smaller scale. So that's my feedback.
So the lettering for Monument Hall, that sign for their big lettering is I think an inch bigger than what we were doing over there. And then the lettering for the two parishes is like an inch, and I don't know what it says on the drawing, but it's like it's about an inch and
yeah, I mean, I Billy, you know, we know your work. I think the sign is very attractive. I'm just that 7.5 foot span feels too large for me for the location, but other commissioners might have a different opinion. But I think given that this area has now been cleaned up and tidied up, I think the sign will appear more prominent. It's not as recessed as the Holy Family Parish Hall sign is currently. And so that closer proximity to the road and the sidewalk, I think the sign will appear larger than it is. And that length of sign feels too big to me, but others may have a different.
If you looked up further, the other church beyond Masonic Hall has a sign that's very close to the street that is even larger. And I'm not trying to debate it with you. I just,
This one here.
yes, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the overall trend is we're trying to draw the signage size down. And this length in particular, it's not the proportions of it, but the length of it feels too large.
I think we're half the height of the Christian Science church, and then they wanted their lettering in one line. So, you know, it's not the end of the world, but you know.
Well, let's see what other commissioners have to say.
Well, let's hear what thank you, Abby. Let's see what Dennis has to say. You're muted.
There you go.
There you go.
I have no overall problem with the sign and size. I always opt for smaller. But now that I see the comparison with Christian Science, I'm not as bothered by it. I guess I'm bothered by white, but I guess church signs tend to be white with black lettering. It just seems to, and beyond the post, it seems to really be glaring. It would be nicer if it were more subtle in colors, which I know, of course, doesn't suit the purpose, because if it's too subtle, then you don't see the sign. But overall, I have no real problem with it. I agree with those who would like the post maybe to be darker. But, you know, as far as signs go, I think it's fine.
Doesn't photoshopping make it look more pronounced than it's really going to?
It does, yes.
Yeah, because it does look sort of glaring to me a little bit. I shouldn't say that, but and I think that's because it's the way Photoshop does it.
I think white Photoshop is. I think white is glaring anyway, but
right.
I'm not going to fight the white.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Peter.
I don't really have a problem with the sign. The only question I have, Mark, is about the placement, because the existing sign says Holy Family Parish Hall. Is pretty clear it's that building. Right. And now the new sign says Catholic Parish Center. Does that mean people are supposed to go in that door?
Well, yes, that's the entrance to the building. Okay, because you recall that we couldn't do ADA compliant at the front door. So it had to be the side entrance. The front door is exit only. It's not an entrance. So that's why you can't see it. There's a sidewalk that we put in that runs, I don't know where, from like here over to that door. So that's the main entrance. Okay?
But then the parish hall is not going to have any sign other than it's just, there's something up there, right? There's something up at the.
What? There's lettering that says Monument Hall over the door. We're going to clean that up. I think it's brass or something, Billy, isn't it?
I think it's old brass letters.
Yeah.
And frankly, the only thing I would say, and I don't object to the size of the sign. I think actually, I know this might sound a little goofy, maybe some nice plantings around each post, like little low.
And maybe we should move it back a little bit. Okay. I mean,
move it back, put some plants in front of it.
Because we don't want it to be ugly. Okay. I mean, we've spent millions of dollars on this building to try to make it look pretty. Okay. So, all right. No.
I don't think it's ugly. I think maybe that's right. Push it back a little bit, some flowering, plants or something. Otherwise, I'm good.
So as to the size, Billy, I'm going to steal your thunder. He went ahead and made the sign. Okay. So if we could get approval for it as it is, if you're not going to do that, that's okay. We'll pay for it twice. But
well, let's keep that information for comments at the end, or for additional comments. Why don't we go to Catherine and ask her for comments?
Okay.
Yes, hello. I am basically in favor of the sign. I have no real objections. I do agree that it would be nice if it could be a little bit more minimalized in terms of how large it is at the 7.5 foot length. So if it could be reduced in size with the scaling of the lettering being proportionate to that reduction in size, and or in conjunction with having it a bit farther back with plantings. I mean, I think either approach would essentially get us to the place where I think everybody would be happy with it.
Okay.
Thank you, Catherine. So my comments are basically the same comments of Catherine and Abigail and Dennis and Peter and Henry. I think that the design, it's big and that would benefit from a reduction in scale, but I don't think this is crucial. I think that the colors, at least on the Photoshop rendition, are a little glary, but I understand that that may be just a matter of the way that it's being presented. I anticipate that those white colors will somehow age and become a little more natural, so I don't have a great deal of trouble. But I do believe that it would be appropriate, given the size of the sign, that it would be placed a little further from the street, as it was suggested before. So those are my comments. So I will ask now for public comments. Are any public comments about the application of 70 Monument Square?
Can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
What about the idea if, because I'm not done with the sign, but I just sort of committed to that size, assuming that we had already kind of downsized it a little bit, but for the positioning, what if I staked just the sample out there? I mean, I'm not going to be done, Mark, in the next week anyway. So what if there was, just so we don't have to go to vote, and then maybe, do you want me to bring it, the blank over, float it in the spot where we think it would be moved back a little bit from that, and actually see? This feels a little bit big to me, even in reality, for what it is. So yeah, I'm not saying the scale, I thought the scale was right on the beam, but you know, it's not very big. It's 23 inches tall, which is half the size. It's half the height of the Christian Science Church sign, which does not look that big when you're out there. So I'm just saying, because I actually have the blank, would it be worth me just going over there to stage it and then just continue it? Because I don't think, Mark, that I can get it up in the next week and a half anyway.
Yeah.
Even if it passed.
But why don't we just commit to moving it back a little bit? We can certainly do that, okay? If you're agreeable, if the commission's agreeable to that. And I'd be agreeable to putting a couple of flowers by the posts, you know, low flowers, to try to minimize that, okay? If that makes people comfortable, so.
Thank you, Mark. And let's do the following then. I think that the consensus is that the sign would benefit from being a little further from the street,
Okay.
and that it definitely would benefit from having some vegetation around it. Abigail.
So yeah, I think moving the sign, I think recessing the sign further back eliminates some of my concerns about size. I also wonder if we shortened the posts somewhat, even just by like 6 to 8 inches. If we lowered it and moved it back, I
That's
think
fine.
then it becomes less billboard and more wayfinding and signage.
Yeah,
So I think,
as I said, we don't want it to be obtrusive. We
no,
want
and
it to
that's
be
what
more-
I think you've done
you know,
such a lovely job with the project,
Right.
and it has such a great sense of space.
Right.
And I think landscaping has been such an improvement that I think adding depth to that space, and
Yep.
so you feel the full extent of it. I think if it was further back, a little bit lower, then my concerns about the width of the sign, those kind of go away. So that would be my suggestion. And I agree that some landscaping around it could be attractive.
Yep.
But I think further back and lower will soften the impact.
Yes, that's 24 inches above grade. You want to suggest a dimension?
I mean, I think somewhere between, I think 18 to 20 inches. I mean, I know it doesn't sound like much, but given the proportion of the sign, I think lowering it by 6 inches could actually make a noticeable difference in
So
how the sign is perceived.
What happens in February when we have 3 feet of snow? So
If you got 3 feet of snow, the sign's half covered anyway.
All right.
And that's a great, that's a great CCD job to dig out the sign.
Oh, your shovel.
Exactly.
So I think that we have come to an understanding that the sign will benefit from setting it back, from lowering the height to a height of between 18 and 20 inches, and to adding some vegetation to the post and so forth. So I will then, in the absence of any further public comments, I will ask the commission for a motion to approve, continue, approve with conditions, or deny the application of 70 Monument Square.
Well, somebody else do it just because I can't read if I've got this up on the screen.
Will somebody do it?
Can you bring back the fall weather that's in this picture, by the way? Because obviously people are wearing jackets in this photograph, so I would like some cool weather, please.
Oh, it'll be here before you know it, Peter. So be careful what you wish for.
Well, now, seriously, if somebody can make a motion, that
Yeah.
will be,
Hang on a
we
second.
can proceed.
I will move that we approve the application for new signage at 70 Monument Square as presented, with the following conditions: that the signage be moved back some degree and that it be lowered so that it's about 18 inches clear from the ground, and that there are plantings around the base of some kind.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I'm gonna go around my screen. Henry,
Aye.
Abby,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
and I myself, and I will clarify that the voting members for this evening are Dennis Fiore, Abigail, Henry Moss, Peter Nobili, and myself.
Thank you,
So
Mark.
Mark,
Nice to see you.
Thank you very much. Okay. I hope I never see you all again.
Thank you, guys.
oh,
Come on.
thank you.
Ah, nice, nice.
Any other good thoughts for us, or?
Goodbye.
All right, well, goodbye then.
Stay cool.
All right, the next application is 616 Lowell Road, the Barrett Farm district, and we should have Mr. Ray or Mr. Falwell representing the owner, Bernadette L. Finney, for a certificate of appropriateness to install a split rail paddock fence.
Good evening.
Mr. Finney is here. Oh, Mr. Falwell is here. Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
If you could give us a summary or a quick review of the application, be very grateful. Thank you.
I will do that. The application, I think, is fairly complete in terms of describing what's proposed. It's a paddock fence. We included photographs of similar fencing that's been used. There's up, I think those photos were taken up on Monument Street. You see the photos that show the view from Lowell Road of the existing stone wall and the trees and the existing open area that will become the paddock as proposed. There'd be none of the trees that you see in the photo will need to be, as I indicated in my supplementary filing letter. They'll all remain. There'll be no trees taken down. The setback from Lowell Road would be approximately 30 feet thereabouts. We believe the fence is proposed meets the guidelines of the commission in terms of its content size and so forth. As you may know, the area that's in question that we want to put the fence is under a conservation restriction with the Concord Land Conservation Trust. We have received permission from them to install the fence as indicated, where indicated, and the type of fence. So they're good with it. I would say, as my understanding, that there was fencing there, at least in the rear portion of it in the past. And some of it is taken down because of its age and so forth. But so this will be a new fence to be installed where we show it, and in just as shown in the photographs. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them. And Mrs. Feeney is on the call as well. And if there are questions that I can't answer, I'll be happy to. We can ask her for any clarification. But I think the application is fairly self-explanatory.
Thank you very much, Mr. Falwell. Just a point of clarification, as you alluded, if we go to the first plan that we have in the application, that exactly, are all the bold black lines pieces of fence, or is the fence just in the periphery of the square that's being depicted there?
It's my understanding that their fences are will enclose the areas that are described as paddock. So there are two larger ones with a walkway in between, and there's a smaller area that would be fenced in the upper right-hand corner, which would be there for if an animal had to be, one of the horses had to be, sequestered from the others for some reason. But the fences, as you see it, is the black lines are the fenceway. The fence proposed, there's a walkway between the two larger and longer paddocks.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that we clarify the issue. There's a fence that goes in the periphery of the square that we are seeing in that plan.
That's correct.
And then there are two more fences that are going in the center, defining the walkway.
Correct.
And then there's a fence perpendicular to the fence that defines the walkway. And then there's an additional fence that defines a paddock and a forest.
That's correct. That area will not be used as a paddock.
Okay, but it's basically a whole series of fences and several layers of fences.
That's correct.
It's just a matter of clarifying the extent of the project. All right. I'll ask the commission then to make some comments. What about Dennis?
I don't have any problems with this. If it's a simple sort of paddock fence, there are plenty around town, and I think it would be fine.
Thank you, Dennis. Abigail?
So I may be particularly dense when it comes to this application because I'm reading it and I'm looking at it, and I didn't see supplemental materials that indicated a 30-foot setback or anything like that. So I'm just a little unclear as to the position. Well, I have no objection to the materials. I think a split rail fence for a paddock is entirely appropriate. I think in the Barrett's Farm District, it's also appropriate given that it's primarily farmland. I don't have a problem with that. I am a little unclear about how much fencing we're talking about in terms of the actual linear footage of the fencing and its precise location. I would be most comfortable seeing this staked out. This is a particular intersection and corner that we have taken very seriously over the past few months. And so I'm sensitive to changes to open space in this area. So I don't anticipate any issues with it, but the lack of clarity, perhaps just on my part, it would be helpful to have a bit more clarification as to the exact amount of fencing and the location of fencing, but other commissioners may feel as though they've got a good handle on that. So
let me interject. The plan that shows, it actually shows the fence extending out to the Lowell Road right of way. But as I said there's a letter that was I filed with the commission when I filed the original application wasn't signed by Mrs. Feeney because she was not available. I as required, obtained her signature and filed the same application with her signature on it. And in connection with that filing, I indicated that that, as I say, no existing trees would be cut or removed, and that the fence will be approximately 30 or 40 feet from the existing stone wall. So I guess in that regard, the plan is not specific in terms of showing that it's not actually going to be out to the stone wall. It's going to be set back behind the trees from 30 or 40 feet. So that portion of that plan that shows that extending out to what would arguably the stone wall on the westerly boundary of the entire area is slightly inaccurate to the extent that would be moved back, as I said, from 30 or 40 feet from where the stone walls are.
Okay. And do we have I may just be looking, I'm looking at the application as it's posted on the website. Was that letter and clarification posted? I'm just not seeing it.
I haven't seen that letter. So no.
Sorry, Ann, go ahead.
I have not seen that letter, so no, it's not posted.
Okay.
The letter was hand delivered to Haley on July 21. Obviously I don't know what was posted on the website, but that letter, there's a letter of July 21 that's not included in what you're seeing on the screen, which had that clarifying information with respect to the trees not being cut or removed and the setback. So the commission has it. Whether if it hasn't been actually included in the posting, I can't comment on that, but the commission has the letter.
I apologize for that oversight. I'll be sure to post that.
Great, thank
you. Thank you, Abigail. Catherine.
I have no objections to it. I happen to be an equestrian, so I think it's a perfectly practical solution to holding the animals, and the style of the fence is certainly also appropriate to the surrounding areas, and so I have no objections.
Thank you, Catherine. Henry.
I don't entirely agree with Catherine. I grew up on a horse farm, and my concern about this, I have two concerns. One is I think we should actually see however rough diagram of where the paddocks are actually going to be. That's one issue. The second thing is I'm amazed that a fence this low will actually keep the animals in.
Well, Ms. Feeney can comment on it, but I believe the horses that she has are small horses, ponies.
Yeah, this is for 2 Icelandic horses.
Okay.
And so the height is I can't recall exactly what it is, how many inches, but it's the approved amount, and it's whatever that is we'll keep the Icelandic horses in. There are just 2 of them. And then
fine.
The paddocks are so we can rotate them. And then it really looks like the picture, except it really will start about 30 to 40 feet, whatever you would like, in front of where the trees are, and then just centered for this is our property line, the back part. The little right tiny paddock you can't see from the street. That will just be if one of them are sick and they have to be separated. And then just the 2 paddocks so we can let the rest of the grass grow while the 2 are grazing for 6 hours a day. So they'll go 1 week in the back part and 1 week in the front part. And then we'll center it, say 30 to 40 feet, after the stone wall and that's our property line, where we did have the exact same fence recently. It just all fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks very much for that explanation. Are you finished, Henry? Do you want to make any more comments?
No, I will help gather the loose animals if they should.
Thank you.
Go to visit
Me
dinner.
too.
Peter.
That I want to see, by the way. No, I also don't have any problem conceptually. I think what we might want to ask for, if we don't ask for a site visit or a stakeout is a revised diagram, because I don't think this diagram is helping. It's sort of, it's not clear. So that might be the easiest thing to do, is submit a new diagram and then have Ann and Haley send that around and approve it that way or something. Does that make sense?
I don't think that's the problem. We can file an amended plan that will show the exact setback where the fence will actually be. And it'll be more representative, I think, as to exactly what it is that you'll see when it's done.
Okay, because I did not grow up on a horse farm. I'm a city boy, so I have no idea what I'm looking at other than aesthetically. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. See, I will echo the rest of the members of the commission. I did grow up riding horses every single day of my life. So I entirely sympathize with the issue of having a fence, and I like the idea of looking outside and looking at horses. So I look forward to passing by Low Road and seeing them. But I believe that we have an issue of the application being reflective of what is being proposed. Yeah. And as my fellow commissioners have mentioned, I don't believe that the plans have submitted correspond to what actually will or can be built. Yeah. So my contribution would be that I believe that we should continue the application, and in the meantime, we will receive an accurate a plan that shows exactly where the edges of the fence will be. And I don't anticipate, at least on my part, any objection to the plan as proposed. Again, all my concern is having an accurate application that represents exactly what is being proposed and that will be built.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I can't even draw. I just drew that. So, but I'll find someone who can draw it better than I can.
Yeah, I don't think that this will be a substantial delay. So I don't think that it's going to impose any burden. Now, if there are no more comments from the commissioners, I will ask for members of the public to make any comments. Are there any comments from the public? Well, in the absence of comments from the public, I will ask the commission for a motion.
I will move that we approve, that we continue the application for a paddock fencing, the split rail paddock fence at 616 Lowell Road until the next meeting, which is, help me out.
16th
2
of
weeks.
August 18th. August 18th.
That's my motion. That's my motion. Now, let me just ask the applicants, is that going to cause a hardship in terms of horse care?
No, thank you. No, that's no problem.
We're only caring about the horses, believe me.
They're so hot.
And that in the meantime, we'll get a new plan and be ready to go. And we'll be probably done with you in 5 minutes at the next meeting.
Thank you so much.
That's my motion.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a second for the application of 16 Low Road? Abigail. Second. All right, so I will conduct a vote. Henry?
Aye.
Abigail?
Aye.
Dennis?
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. So we look forward to see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
All right.
And we will need pictures of each one of the horses from at least three.
I'll send them
from 3 different perspectives.
They're from Iceland, so
we expect them to be very compact.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
So the next application, it's 100 Case Road, the unit 401, the Millman Square condos, the former Rose Hawthorne School, 1952 with 1979 alterations. And I believe that Jennifer Lauer is here. So if you would be so kind to make a summary of the planned changes that you are proposing.
Hi, thank you. I would like to replace two windows. Sorry, if we just, I would like to replace two windows. The window that is indicated in the picture there, I would like to remove the center plywood panel and replace that with glass. And then that window and the window to its right, as you were looking at the photo, both windows we would like to replace, and the frame material will be PVC instead of wood. So we have an example of a window with plywood panel and the window with glass recently replaced.
Okay. If you could clarify one issue that was brought up in the comments initially, are the proportions of the window that it's going to be put in similar to the proportions of the window that's being replaced? In terms of, obviously this window have 2 panels on the top and 3 panels on the 3 vertical panels on the bottom and 2 horizontal panels on the top. So are those proportions exactly the same as the ones that are being replaced?
Yes. It should look, it should look the same. The proportions that I'm sorry, it's a little, I apologize. The pictures that we used to give you examples of the windows are from the 3rd floor, and the windows on the 3rd floor are a bit taller than the windows on the 4th floor where I live.
So what you're saying is that there will not be any change in the proportion, because if we see at the building from the perspective of the street, we see that the horizontal components of the 2nd floor, it's a little taller than the horizontal components of the 3rd floor.
Yes.
Luis, I think they're just replacing wood with glass. They're not
I'm
changing.
replacing wood with glass.
Yeah,
And
mullions are staying all the same.
Yeah.
Well, but I haven't gotten to that yet. I just want to make sure that we're not replacing a horizontal component that has one height with another one that has a much bigger height.
The dimensions are going to be the same.
Okay.
Just the frame material will be PVC instead of wood, and the center panel will be glass instead of the plywood.
Okay, I think that clarifies all my concerns. And do we have specs for the windows materials and so forth, I assume? Is that correct, Anne?
Right here.
It was
Yeah,
one of the
they're here. Okay. I have to, I'm looking at them.
There was another document that listed all the dimensions and the contractor information.
Correct. Okay, so we just want to make sure that all the information is available in the application. So I will ask the members of the commission for comments. We start with Peter.
I don't really have any comments as long as the proportions are similar to what's adjacent in terms of mullions, and that the colors of the mullions and muntins match. Actually, I do have one question. Are you replacing all the glass or just the center light?
I am replacing all the glass in 2 windows. Both the windows are failing. The frames are failing. So
the big
entire window assembly is coming out and being replaced.
Okay. So the only caution I would have is that the glass, I don't know if there's a building standard for the glass in terms of like coatings and what have you, just so that the glass also looks the same. And that I don't know. Does the building have a standard that you have to adhere to?
I was not aware of one. I do know that all the other windows that are being replaced over the past couple of years are using I think he referred to it as E2 glass, I believe is what he called it. and
Yeah,
or
so-
low E,
right,
the
there it
low E
is.
glass, and that is what is being
Yeah.
replaced for
Okay.
other windows as
So there it is. Yeah, I was going to say, pardon me for interrupting. There it is right there. Dual pane low E4 standard. Okay, that's really my only caution. As long as it doesn't, you know what I mean? Sometimes glass looks different
Mhm.
depending on what kind of fancy gas it has in it. So as long as it's consistent, I have no objections.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Dennis?
I appreciated Peter's inquiry. I think we should have all the glass looking the same. I think it's fine, what she's proposing. We've done a number of these. I just wish she could get the rest of her neighbors to go along with it.
we're working on it.
The building would look much better if you got rid of all that ugly plywood. So I think it's just fine.
Thank you, Dennis. Henry?
I agree with Dennis in that anything that gets texture 111 out of permanent locations is a win for the community. That's one thing. One question I have for Ms. Lauer is, if Anderson is doing this, why are you doing it in PVC rather than aluminum?
Because that's what my contractor told me he was using. I don't know.
It won't change the way it looks from the exterior, but it might change how frequently you have to come back and replace these.
Okay.
Good point.
Thank you, Henry.
Yeah, it's not an HDC issue.
Thanks for the information. Catherine?
I have no objections at all. I think it'll be a good improvement to have the glass back in there.
Thank you, Catherine. Abigail?
I have no objection. We've done lots of these over the past few years. I think it's an improvement, but I agree with Henry that I could be wrong in my recollection. I meant to email staff prior to this. I think most of the replacements that we've done have been in aluminum versus PVC. And I think it's a durability issue that is the reason that they were designed and selected that way. So that's something that might be worth exploring. And staff could correct me. We could go back to the record to look at the other ones that we've done, but I believe that most of them have been aluminum units. So just a caution and a thought.
Thank you, Abigail. I have no comments other than exactly the same comments that all the commissioners have said. I think this will be a fine project. And I share the issue of the aluminum versus the PVC. So let's ask for some public comments. Are there any public comments about the application of 100 Case Road? Well, in the absence of public comments, I will mention that there seems to be relevant information that the applicant could use in terms of asking for aluminum as opposed to PVC, but I don't believe that they affect in any way the purview of the Historic Districts Commission in making the decision whether this can or cannot be approved. But I would look forward to a motion that entertains or that gives the applicant the possibility of using a material that different from the one that is being proposed, specifically aluminum as opposed to PVC. So if that will be agreeable, then I will ask for a motion that captures that information. Otherwise, I will ask for a motion to approve with conditions, deny or continue the application of 100 Case Road.
I'll move that we allow the replacement of a window and a piece of plywood with the window at 100 Kaiser Road with the option of using aluminum rather than the PVC that has been applied for.
Seconds.
I'll second that.
Okay, I'll go around the screen. Henry?
Aye.
Abby?
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
and I am an I as well. So congratulations, and you have to make a decision on material.
Thank you.
You are most welcome. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you very much.
All right. As we have no other applications, then we will move to other business. We have draft minutes that have been placed on the website. So I'll ask our secretary.
Sorry, before we get to that, Luis, I'm just thinking, and this is not official business, but we have another one of these 100 Kaiser Road window replacement applications coming up at our next meeting. It might make sense, and I don't know how we can do this administratively, but it's one address in terms of it's 100 Kaiser Road, and they're different unit numbers. But it seems to me that it would be expeditious for us to issue some sort of approval that allows for any of these window units to be replaced. It seems like we're seeing maybe 6 or 7 of these a year where they're replacing the plywood with glass. It's all of the same dimensions. It's the same color. It's the window unit. We've approved all of them. And I wonder if there's some way that we can expedite that for people moving forward, that there's kind of a standing approval if it meets certain conditions. That's not need to be dealt with tonight, but just looking at efficiency's sake and saving applicants and town staff a little bit of time. That given that it's one address making all of these changes, I think there's a couple dozen more units to do it, that might be something that we could probably find a workaround for.
I think that's an excellent suggestion, and I don't know how can we accommodate that in terms of the regulations and the rules of the HTC. But I think that one way to cast it is such that the aim that you are asking for gets done is to say that all this is replacement in kind. Because it's basically replacement in kind. We haven't seen anything different. So I was asking about the proportions because I thought that the proportions were going to be changed. But if it's replacement in kind, then we can make a clarification that the replacing windows in 100 Case Road with the same window but different material, it's in kind.
Or we could probably ask the condo association to submit an application and we approve a certificate of appropriateness for 100 Kaiser Road for these window replacements on behalf of the entire building. So it may be that we have the condo association or whatever their governing body submit an application as 100 Kaiser Road units 1 through however many. And issue a blanket certificate of appropriateness with the conditions that we want in it. So it may just be that we have to kind of, this is a little unusual, but I think town staff has so much on its plate that if we can help them in some way, and this would help them, I think we ask the owners at 100 Kaiser Road, please submit a blanket application. Then none of your unit owners will need to wait for our approval to do this kind of window replacement. I think that gets us over the administrative hurdles.
I think that it's an excellent idea, and I'm sure that we can, with your help, figure out some language that allows a certificate of approval to last, in essence, for a long period, not every 6 months.
Yeah, and we could, I think we approach them, have them file an application for whatever the next meeting is, extend it to the whole building, and then it could be something that we condition it that it's until all window units have been replaced.
Okay, well,
we'll figure it out, but I just want to
figure out. I'll coordinate with Anne, and we'll find some language that is appropriate. Okay, so the other business that we have, it's minutes. So
has
have we
everyone reviewed the minutes and submitted comments if you had changes? I know that Haley received a number of comments and incorporated them. Has anyone not, or I should ask this, has anyone not reviewed them? Everyone did their homework. Well done, kids. Well done.
Okay, so if everybody did their homework, and I just want to clarify that this is the minutes of the June 16th meeting. And everyone is aware of that. Okay, then I will ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the HCC meeting of June 16, 2022.
Can I ask a question before we do that? These
Uh-huh.
minutes are going to directly bear on this meeting coming up on Monday, correct?
Yes. Yes.
How much do I care? Do I need
Given
to
that
care?
there's a video of the meeting and
Yeah,
that
that's
the
right.
minutes, if we lived in a time before technology and these minutes were the only memorialization of the meeting, it might factor in differently, but the minutes, as you'll see if you review the recent set, Haley's minutes
Yeah,
are thorough.
that's it.
They are complete, they are accurate. I would say that they are a more robust capture of the meeting than we've had previously. She's done an excellent job. The whole planning staff has done an excellent job. So we also do have the video. So if there's a question as to exact verbiage or something that would go beyond the substance of the minutes, there's a electronic record of the meeting. So I'm not concerned about that in terms of content.
Okay, I'm good then. So I'll move that we accept the minutes as amended
Second.
from the 16th of June, right?
Okay. Dennis seconded it. So Henry,
Aye.
Abigail,
Aye.
Catherine, Peter,
Aye.
Dennis, and I am an aye as well. So thank you very much. Are there any other issues that anyone want to bring up?
No,
Is
I
there any
make a
special
motion that we
preparation? I'm sorry,
adjourn the
Abby.
meeting.
Okay, just one more point of information. I think that our next meeting will be a hybrid. So some of us at least will be in person. So if that information is helpful, then use it.
Are you
Henry, you had
referring to
asked, is there
Monday?
any special prep for Monday, right?
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
Well, I have not received any more feedback from beyond what you did receive about our meeting on Monday. And I don't have any other information that I have not provided already to all the members of the HCC in terms of meetings that I have had with the select board. So I don't know if there's any more information of what it's already there. And, it's just a matter of clarifying things. There are some allegations that, of course, will be reviewed and we'll go from there. Abigail will be very helpful.
I am going to be at a conference in Maine and will attempt to be calling in from a parking lot somewhere in Rockland. So I will do my best to be participating, but I may face.
You're going to have to be much more specific about which parking lot in Rockland are you going to be.
And Barn Follow Books. So I'm hoping for robust Wi-Fi connection, but we shall see.
There's a robust Wi-Fi connection there, as a matter of fact.
That's my hope.
I can assure that that's the case. You probably can do video as well. So if there are any more business, then I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
So we are adjourned. Goodbye.
Stay cool.